generally most people will agree that the world is, and it's really commonly stated as being too materialistic. And our life would be better, and society would be better, people would be happier if there was more spirituality in their life. Would you guys sort of agree that most people sort of accept and feel that way? The problem is, though, when you start asking people, what does it mean to be materialistic? What is materialism? And on the other side, what is true spirituality? What is true, what does it mean to lead a more spiritual life? And generally people don't have a really kind of like solid answer there. People go like, well, you know, it ranges from, you know, just not being negative and trying to be positive all the way through to unicorns and rainbows and butterflies and stuff. And unfortunately, this is not this does not really tell us anything. Do you know what is the foundation of materialism? Huh? Attachment? Huh? The physical form. This idea is the foundation of materialism. The idea that I am material. I am material, which translates very simply into the idea that this current body that I have on and am operating in is me. This body is me. And so when people are generally asked to identify themselves, it's actually, you know, it's not just a social norm. There is this experience. I mean, you ask people, if I give you a piece of paper and I ask you, please describe yourself, what's the first thing you're normally going to write? Huh? Yeah, I am. And then what? You know, they'll say a name, an age, perhaps a racial extraction, a height, a weight, you know, a complexion. People, you know, I'm this. And what is really astonishing is when a person up and leaves their body, when the body is left behind, you can take that list and run down the checklist, and everything on it is still right there in front of you. But the person is left. We're talking about big time. Elvis has left the building, like seriously gone. And this vehicle has been left behind. And it's astonishing because my whole life I have lived this completely erroneous idea that this is me. This idea is the foundation of all forms of materialism and all the philosophies that grow from it, which are actually destructive and hurtful, and make it so that in our life we cannot come to that state of boundless joyfulness, where we are free from anxiety and fears, where we are experiencing this wonderful positive condition. This, the foundation of spirituality, on the other hand, is the recognition that I am a spiritual being. I am temporarily inhabiting this body, and this body is on a roller coaster. There are going to be highs and there are going to be massive lows. And at the end, it just starts crapping out big time. If I have spent my life absorbed in this thought, in this idea that this body is me, I am doomed to a life of unhappiness. My life will end in loneliness, simply reminiscing, trying to cling on to what I thought were happy moments, but were very fleeting and very passing. Is this too much of a bummer for anyone? Or are we okay? We're okay? Okay. I'm the bummer guy, all right? No, if we don't recognize certain realities, then it becomes actually quite difficult to really address the need for change and how change and transformation can take place. So when a person, is overwhelmed, I mean, it's, in the yogic, what is that? It's just the wind? Are you okay back there? So, there are one of my little difficulties here is this is my first time with many of you. There's a couple of people here I know, but because it's my first time in speaking with you, I don't really know much about you and your background philosophically or spiritually, or your views on life and everything. And so I maybe have to pause a little once in a while and consider how to present things in a way that people can appreciate. From the spiritual point of view, from the yogic point of view, life and consciousness is the symptom of the presence of a spiritual energy. The material energy does not contain life. It is deeply unfortunate that the scientific community is rather dogmatic in their adherence to this idea that consciousness has come from atoms. That when you get the right combination of atoms together, suddenly this combination of atoms is going to manifest consciousness. It has never been proven that this is true. For those who, I just read like a couple of weeks ago, they spent $885 million to launch a satellite. The satellite is going to chase an asteroid. When it catches up with the asteroid, a landing vehicle is going to go and land on the surface of the asteroid. And then it has one mission. Its one mission is to puff nitrogen gas and cause a cloud of dust, which they'll quickly grab. And with a few grams of this asteroid dust, they're going to bring it back to Earth to discover, perhaps, the origin of life. And it's like, hello, I tell you what, how about you just give me, instead of the 885, give me the 5 million, and I'll tell you where life comes from. I'll save you a lot of money, because you're not going to find it in the dust. Life arises, you know, in this world, there are only two, from the yogic point of view, two principal types of energy. One energy is referred to the jiva tattva, or it is broadly described with this term Brahman. And everything else falls into this other category called prakriti, which is material nature. The astonishing thing is, it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that when the living being, who is a superior energy, comes in contact with the material energy, you become overwhelmed. And this being overwhelmed is manifest in this completely erroneous idea that we take on board and adopt so deeply and live that this body is me. And when you adopt this idea, unfortunately, what are you going to do? Your pursuit of happiness is going to be solely directed towards the vehicle and not the driver. You are going to do things to try and satisfy the sense of touch, smell, taste, hearing, in the hope that you will find happiness. And the amazing thing is, it does not matter how many atoms, in whatever arrangement they may be, that you stuff into the different orifices of your body, you will never experience fulfillment. You will never experience actual joy, real happiness from that experience. In fact, it's like totally amazing. You know, yoga, one of the central focuses in yoga, in order to really come to appreciate my spiritual existence and to learn about these things, is they do a great study of the mind and how the mind drives us and how the mind directs us and drags us around. And I'll give you an example of how weird the situation is. If I ask you, what's your favorite music? I mean, you think of what's the one song currently, or piece of, you know, musical arrangement or whatever, that just is so wonderful that you hear it and it's just like, it's heaven. It's heavenly. It's like, you just feel so good. If I take you and duct tape you to a chair, and we put headphones on, and all you hear is that one piece of music for the next 2 days, you don't even have to wait 2 days. Give yourself 2 hours. What's the experience going to be? I mean, it's now become like torture. The thing that seemed to give me so much happiness and fulfillment has now, it's like, you know, you're killing me. What's my favorite food? Okay, we're going to put you in a room, and just that one single food that you love the most is all that you're going to eat for the next 3 days. What's that going to do for you? Exactly the same experience. And if you really think about it, it's like, so what's really going on here? Why is it that, if I do this thing one time, if I anticipate it, and then I experience it, it's like, oh God, that was so great. Oh, that was awesome. But yet if I'm just bombarded with it, it's just like, now I become really upset. I will even become depressed or angry. I resist it and push it away. So what's going on? What's going on? I mean, simple mathematics. You give me $1, I got $1. You give me another $9, I got $10. The more you give me, the more it's growing. If this is providing me happiness, why is it that when I'm constantly exposed to it, it'll actually cause me distress? Is this too trippy, or is this okay? Huh? It's okay. I mean, what is the big pursuit of life? Is it not happiness? It's happiness. And yet, we don't seem to twig to the idea that unless I'm constantly receiving a variety of stimulation. They got this saying, variety is the spice of life, which means that what I've got to get into is the constant shift and change. And then when we get over here, then we can swing back over here again, and it's okay. If we stay on it, it's going to be depressing. It's going to be a bummer. There is a reason. There is a reason for this. And the reason is very simple. Part of the eternal nature of the person. Well, let me just step back a little bit further. Our spiritual identity, when we ask people, what is it? If you accept that perhaps you're not the body, then what exactly are you? And most people are like, and some people throw out a word like a soul or a spirit soul. Let's get that together. But it's kind of like there is no really clear understanding and appreciation. It's kind of like the, what's that? The Energizer bunny, right? It's like you got some batteries in the Energizer bunny, and the bunny is going for it with a simple, And then if you take the batteries out, it's kind of, you put the batteries there, and I'm like, God, batteries, that's not doing anything for me. And look at the bunny, whoosh, it just fell over. That's not moving around or doing anything anymore. And so I'm thinking that's pretty useless, and that's also pretty useless. But when I join them together, maybe I've got something that's worthwhile. And many people, unfortunately, erroneously think that somehow there has to be this combination of some energy source with this body to make a complete person. The spiritual reality from all yogic scripture is that the energetic source, the life source of this body is what is called in Sanskrit a Purusha. This word Purusha literally means person. The body is not a person. The person is the one that's hanging out inside and completely lost the plot and thinking that the body is actually me. This Purusha, this living being, this spiritual entity, has a nature. And the nature of that entity is that you should be existing in a state of limitless happiness. That's why we are driven always to be looking for this happiness, looking for this fulfillment. Because we are not actually experiencing. I can do all kinds of things with this body. I can just stimulate it like crazy. I can do all kinds of even totally weird stuff with it. It can get really out there. But in spite of all this experience, when I am left alone in my bed at night, I feel unfulfilled. I feel that I am not being touched in the core of my being. This Purusha, or living being, this spiritual entity, also has another nature. This other nature is the desire to love. It is not just a desire, it is a spiritual need. It is part of your the reality of who you are, to both love and to be loved. The problem comes when we have adopted this erroneous idea that this body is me. The body is me. And when I do that, then I will seek to fulfill both the need for happiness and this need for love through the vehicle of this body. And in my search for love, how does that one turn out for everyone? I'm not talking about at the moment. How does it turn out? A little bit long term. Look at anybody that you know, your parents, brothers and sisters, friends, relatives, people that you actually know very intimately. How does that one work out? Spectacularly wonderful or not quite? So these needs that drive us are actually spiritual needs. But if we exist in a world, in a paradigm, where I take this temporary body to be me, and I am seeking to fulfill real spiritual needs, the need for happiness, the need for love, if I seek to fulfill that solely on this plane, the material plane, I'm sorry, you're going to come up empty-handed. Your life will be not overly wonderful. Even if you have a long-term, very pleasant relationship, then you are faced with being torn away from your partner in life through the experience of death. And from the yogic perspective, that's not the end of things. This is the beginning of something else, an ongoing cycle. If we seek to live in a better world, whether that is my life or we're talking about a broader reality, it is actually necessary to adopt a new appreciation of this spiritual truth. The process of yoga is meant to be a process of purification. And when I say purification, it is because it is like our consciousness has become soiled and dirtied by material conception. And the process of yoga, particularly the process of spiritual meditation, is for the purpose of, we're talking about not just a little, we're talking about a total revolution of the heart, a total spiritual transformation.